sarcasm. We're pulling back the curtain on the industry. We're talking to the experts, the educators, the innovators, and the everyday clinicians who are out there doing the work. There's no fluff, no filter, and definitely no sales pitches disguised as education. If it's happening in dentistry, from clinical insights to regulatory curveballs, or maybe it's the latest scandal at the ADA, we are probably already talking about it. And yes, we are bringing the goods. It doesn't matter if you're a seasoned doc, anyone in the dental industry, maybe you're a curious consumer, or maybe you're just here for the banter. We welcome you all to the show because around here, we are not just in the loop, we are in the know. Hey there, everyone. I'm Dr. Jeff Horowitz, and I am accompanied by two of my best friends in the world, two great clinicians and two great educators, Doctors Jennifer Bell and Dr. Chad Duplantis. We created this humble little platform to make the dental world a little bit smaller, but a lot more fun. Today we have a great topic and a great guest. We've got the very sought after Cassie Tallon. It's an inside joke. We'll get to it later.
Carrie?
It's Cassie.
Oh, I said Cassie. I'm so sorry. Cassie Tallon. I got carried away with my Jewish accent.
Joke.
How do you screw up a joke?
I know.
Okay, never mind. Okay.
Sorry, I got so excited. The very sought after Cassie Tallon, who is a big hit at the bingo parlors of Marco Island. I'll tell you, also a very good consultant and somebody who happens to be the owner who works with a company called the Fractional Match, which pairs fractional employees with companies to maximize profits. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is maximizing profits. We're doing this because of a great educational partner, Curve Dental. And we're going to be talking about how we use the cloud in order to accomplish a lot of these things. So, guys, I've completely screwed up our intro. Having a bad hair day. I don't think it could get any worse.
Well, I have to make a comment before we get started. I'm sorry, JB, I'm cutting you off because there is something that comes to mind tonight. And I want everybody to take a deep breath and listen. Does anybody look at Jeff tonight and say, crikey, it's a huge alligator. Oh my God. Yeah. I love these things.
It's like a safari shirt.
Yeah. He is freaking 100%. Steve Irwin tonight. Jeff,
you need one of those big hats.
We're gonna see if we can piss this gator off. We're gonna poke him right in the eye.
Yeah, yes. Crikey.
Anyways, for those who listen in podcasts, just imagine Crocodile Dundee had a baby that looked like a Jeff.
Crocodile Dundee was not Steve Irwin.
A later middle-aged baby.
Steve Irwin, either one. They both wore the same outfits.
I mean, we got to be perfectly clear because Crocodile Dundee's famous phrase was, "That's not a knife. Now that's a knife."
Who said that dingo ate my baby? Who said that?
That was Elaine from Seinfeld. Maybe the dingo ate your baby.
Yeah.
No, not from Seinfeld.
Yeah. That was from Seinfeld.
Dang. I just do not know my Australian culture. I just don't.
Got to work on that.
I do. Yeah.
Got to work on that.
I know pop culture.
Sorry, I had to do it. He's very Steve Irwin-esque tonight.
Guys, I tell you what I did last night?
But my family is just engaging in a conversation with me as if I'm not doing anything important, which I'm only talking to the two of you right now. So I guess.
What in the world?
I don't know. They're just talking to me.
Tell him to knock it off.
I know. Austin, they said knock it off, guys.
While he talks to his family.
All right. So besides the fact that we had an amazing webinar with our own Dr. Duplantis, and it's getting rave reviews. I stayed on the whole time, guys. I was there. But guys, you know what I did? So remember originally when we all agreed to do the webinar, I was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to be on because I'm also doing a webinar that night. I've agreed to. And I had. But it was 7 to 9 Pacific Standard Time that I had agreed to. I didn't read the fine print. So do you know what time I lectured last night? From
9.
10 to 12 a.m.
Oh, no.
So please forgive the hair and the scratchy voice and the very mundane feel about today for me because I'm tired.
Wow.
Gosh.
Well, cheers, guys.
Why didn't I read the fine print? Like, who sends it to me and says, you should come lecture from 10 to 12 a.m.? I know where you live.
Yeah, whose idea was that?
Mr.
Honestly,
Austin.
I just didn't read it. It was 100% my fault. It was very clear when it was sent to me. I just saw 7 to 9. I was like, oh, yeah, sure. No problem.
Well, Mr. Austin, our producer, man, if the middle screen goes blank after her glass of wine, you'll know why. And
yeah, just put me to bed.
Just cut away to Chad and I. But do the news first, would you?
Yeah.
I'll do the news, even though it may not be popular, but I'll do the news one more time until eventually the tomatoes hit my face, actually.
So, hey, guys, you know where I'm going tomorrow?
Where?
California.
I'm going to the International Marpy Symposium in Anaheim,
They have a whole
California.
symposium for Marpies?
For Marpy, yep. And I am so excited because
fascinated.
We're finally starting to get some traction on people who want to actually fix their apnea versus just treating it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting. I've always thrown this out there, but you know, we've gotten some expansion cases in kids, but I'm really excited to venture into this more with the adults in a predictable way. And so I'll be out there with Audrey Yoon and all the big players in the Marpy world. And
I couldn't be more jealous if I tried.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. So I'll try to check in with y'all.
Would you? Would you? Can you get Audrey on the show? Because
yes, she has already promised to do the show, and we just needed to reconnect. So
hopefully she'll do it soon.
Oh, geez. Did that just happen?
Oh, jeez. I got no stamina for that.
No one gets a kick out of Chad like Chad does.
That's funny.
He's like, he's going to be in bed tonight and he's going to giggle to himself.
He's going to giggle a little.
Right there.
That was a good one.
I am.
And then he's going to tell Ellen, and Ellen's going to punch him in the nuts and be like, shut up.
She does not think I'm nearly as funny as I think I am.
We could probably all form a club.
But you probably could. Yeah, but that was a good one, though. I'm just going to say.
All right, y'all want to do the news?
Yeah, let's do the news.
Minutes left.
Yeah.
If JB gets through it, there's a good chance she'll make it through the whole show.
You know I'm going to make it through the show.
And let me apologize to both Cassie and Curve Dental again. I don't screw up names, and I am so sorry I did that. That just...
Well, don't you worry, because she can't be on here Yoon enough. Sorry, I had to do it again. I love it.
JB, please.
I want to quit this job.
Yeah,
I want to quit. We could probably replace him with AI, right?
Oh, we've got a long list of people waiting to jump in, and AI would still be a good alternative.
I bet Cassie will say the same. Guys, you ever need a fill in? She probably would come on, and then we could just slowly.
Or do you mean Yassie?
And Austin, take him away. All right, my fellow friends, let's get down to the news. I have a few stories to share with you today, hopefully from really good vetted sources, because I typically don't make up the news. I just read it. In Oklahoma, I really want to get some weigh-in from some of my folks out in Oklahoma, and also some of my folks in the insurance industry. Maybe Greg Grobmeyer might chime in on this one. So Oklahoma signed into law the whole, you don't have to charge your contracted rate if it's a non-covered service. And Oklahoma had been operating in that whole loophole where insurance companies could come in and say, oh, well, it's not covered for this patient, but we generally provide benefit for this procedure under certain circumstances. So you need to honor that rate. So I'm really happy to see that Oklahoma kind of fixed that law so that hopefully the dentists of Oklahoma can get the advantage of that to be able to charge a fair fee for services that are often elective or not medically necessary in order to be able to do that for their patients. But I'm curious, does this circumvent the loophole of the federal or the company-supported plans or self-funded plans? Does the federal law still supersede this one? Or has Oklahoma finally figured out how to override all of them? So I need some feedback because I need to know, because if that's the case and Oklahoma has somehow managed to close the entire loophole and say that dentists are in full control, I would lose it. That would be a great movement in this world where we're operating between self-funded and non-self-funded and having to figure out what we can and can't charge. So I'm looking for some feedback. I would love to hear from some of my experts out in the field. You know, we had a super sad story that came out this week. And, you know, we typically talk about all kinds of silly things that dentists have done and poor decisions that they've made. And unfortunately, we lost one of our colleagues last week, Dr. Serena Fairfax, and she was murdered by her husband, who was a Virginia lieutenant governor. It was a murder-suicide event that happened in Washington, D.C., or just outside of. And our hearts go out to her family and to the kids that are now having to live beyond this tragedy. And I don't know what got them to this point, and I don't know why they couldn't find, or why he couldn't find a better pathway forward. But certainly it sounds like we lost a fantastic colleague, and I'm genuinely sorry to report that kind of information, because I feel like there's always just a better way. There should be a better way. In other news, and this will be very, very relevant to our guests this evening, you know, we talk about economics a lot on the pod, about the impact of dentistry and economics and all the different nuances that are happening out in our workforce. And the most recent first quarter report from HPI, the ADA's Health Policy Institute, is sort of continuing to validate a few things. Number one, dentists are continuing to feel fairly optimistic about the productivity of their practice. They feel like patients are still continuing to seek their services. They're still being able to provide the type of dentistry that they want to do. Although they may be experiencing a little bit of slowdown, they're still feeling somewhat optimistic. But on the inverse side, they are pretty consistently reporting that they're having trouble finding workforce, so hygienists and dental assistants. They're feeling the fiscal squeeze of supplies and lab costs and rising costs of just generally doing business. So we're still kind of feeling that compression of reimbursement rates are not going up. Dental services are sort of leveling off, or productivity sort of leveling off, or not growing exponentially. We're sort of in a sweet spot. But cost of staff, cost of supplies, cost of laboratory expenses, et cetera, continue to go up. And so I think dentists are continuing to feel that squeeze. Something's going to give. And in fact, a good number of the dentists that reported to HPI reported, actually a third of them are still saying that they're actively looking for dental hygienists, and that many of them have found that filling that position is very challenging. I was with a group of dentists last weekend, and that was a fairly consistent theme as well amongst us, that in certain areas, they are having choices to choose from hygienists, and in other areas, not so much. So I think dentists in general are still feeling that fiscal squeeze. We really haven't come out of this from COVID. I don't see the runway of where this ends quite yet. Could be an interesting couple of years yet to go with dentistry. But I love seeing all these states fighting for what they believe in and fighting for the true practice of dentistry, fighting for workforce, fighting for taking care of their patients. And we're just going to have to continue to see where that takes us in the next couple of years. And with that, that's the news.
Okay, maybe not your total high energy self, but
I'm doing the best thing. I barely have a voice.
Not bad. So why would your screen turn blue for me right now, JV?
I'm blue.
Is anyone else getting that, or is Jennifer blue? Chad, I'm seeing Chad Shoulder.
Chad, do I look blue?
And
no, you don't look blue. I'm trying to figure out how my camera can find me again. You know, this damn AI camera.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're really rocking it. I'm screwing up the names. Chad's camera's messing up, and
Blue?
And JB's blue.
Am I the Blue Man Group?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with your little, what I'm seeing of you, but
hey, Austin, just text me to make sure that you can see me, and if you can see me, then...
JB, I see you just fine. I believe it's a Conway, South Carolina thing. Would you guys like me to go ahead and introduce Carrie? I mean, Cassie.
Let's do whatever. That. Carrie, Yeri, something along those lines.
I'm going to take a moment to introduce our wonderful guest, Cassie Tallon. Sorry, Jeff, had to throw that out there. But anyways, Cassie, I had the privilege of meeting Cassie last year at a small event in Dallas. We had a wonderful time recording for Curve. Curve loves Cassie and what she does, but I got to know Cassie, and I'm pretty impressed with what she does too. Cassie is the CEO of the Fractional Match, which is a Dallas-based firm specializing in pairing high-impact fractional leaders with growing businesses. With over 20 years of experience as a marketing and operations leader, Cassie has built a strong reputation for driving strategic growth and operational efficiency across both dental and hospitality industries. She's a visionary leader. She thrives in complex business environments where she translates data-driven insights into clear, actionable strategies. Her work has consistently elevated brand identity while delivering actionable strategies. I think I missed a line there and probably went to the next line, but sorry. Beyond that, Jeff screwed up your name. I screwed up your bio, but I'm just going to go ahead and say that she excels at aligning marketing initiatives with business goals, resulting in accelerated growth, improved brand visibility, stronger customer engagement. She is passionate about helping organizations reach their full potential, and I have witnessed this personally. She just recently finished a book. We'll have her talk to us about that. And she also just recently made a move to possibly one of the most beautiful areas in the United States. So congratulations for that as well. You're just on fire, young lady. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So honored to have you.
I'm so sorry I screwed your name up.
That was really one of the longest bios I've ever heard. And I really just enjoyed the comedy intro session so much that you didn't even have to say all of that about me. I'm just happy to be here and hear the comedy. It's great.
It really was one of your better accents.
Yeah, we pick on each other a lot.
It's so good.
Tonight is a wonderful night for me because I am usually the punching bag. And I'm not.
That's true, actually. Don't worry, the night is young. We're not done yet.
It's only because he's not that bright.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
I gave up making fun of him for Lent, but Lent is over.
Yeah. So you're back at it.
Yeah, I'm back at it now.
Oh, good Lord.
Okay. Down to business, boys.
Yes.
Cassie, thank you so much for joining us. Can you just tell our audience who may not be familiar with you and your work a little bit about your journey, your origin story with your parents, and kind of how we get to this point?
Sure.
And for me, what fractional means.
Yeah.
And how you ended up in a bingo parlor on Marco Island. That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Well, all of that, take your time. No rush.
I would just start by saying that, the fractional piece for me has been something that I still have to explain a bit to individuals that are not familiar with what it really means to be fractional. And really, at the end of the day, what a fractional support person looks like is someone who comes in and cleans house and allows you to have systems and protocols in 90 days or less, and then potentially either not hire what you thought you were hiring for, or hire someone that is just more of a manager of the workflows versus senior level. And I've had, DSOs even that have gone back and hired managers versus C-suite level employees, because the work that we get to do with them is fast and furious, and it's a lot of cleaning up. It's a lot of fixing things at their core. So never to be called a fractional consultant or just a consultant, because that's really not what I do. I go in and I represent the doctor and the heartbeat of the clinic and do my very best to help them achieve their maximum level of earning potential and fix things at their core. So it's a very fun job. I happen to kind of fall into it as a result of some changes that happened as I was exiting a DSO, entering into a new DSO. And then 3 days before I was meant to be hired on, they did a reformation of their entire DSO and let go of everyone, including their CEO. And the HR director called me and said, hey, you know that VP position we promised you, it's not going to happen. And so called a close friend, and she just said, Cassie, like, you have the knowledge. You've been in all the facets in the trenches of the clinics, and I think this is where you're supposed to go. And interestingly enough, my dad was a dentist, my mom a hygienist, my aunt a hygienist, and my uncle a dentist. So conversations around family tables usually were pretty nerdy and dental specific. And so it's just been a part of my life really since the very beginning. You know, I was the one that was working alongside my mom to fill out postcards and mail them to patients when they were new patients in the clinic. I sat on the patient's lap when my mom was cleaning their teeth. Clearly not, there was nothing about that was acceptable by today's standards, but literally like lived in the dental office and watched my dad, throughout my life, and then really got a passion for it myself as I was leaving the hospitality industry and moved into dental. And my first experience, managing and running a clinic was in partnership with my father, who had 18 operatories and 5 dentists working with him. And so I just immersed myself in the space, and I've been in everything from the private practice to the DSO and the exit in between and the transition for the dentist. And then, helping to grow a DSO, and then now also taking what I've learned and working alongside individual dentists and say, hey, there are principles learned along the way that we can implement for you here to make you effective, whether you choose to scale and sell or not. There's just a lot that can be done. So I'm excited to be here and talk to you. And I'm very passionate about what I get to do on an everyday basis. And I attribute 100% of the success that I have had to the fact that I just love my job, and I love coming alongside dentists and seeing the quality of their life improve. And that really is at the heart of it. It's a servant leadership model that I push for the doctors to really understand that, we have to break things apart to make them better. And the outcome is, really very rewarding, and it gives them back a quality of life that they should have really had all along. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, but let's back up just a little bit. That was a lot to digest.
Yeah, it was.
So you mentioned that you left a DSO. What exactly were you doing in the DSO? I mean, what and how did you become involved with dentistry, going back to the humble beginnings? There's more to this story. I'm digging it out of you because I think I remember part of it.
So, the beginnings were obviously the passion to support my dad, who was looking for an exit. And there's an article I published on LinkedIn and a few other channels where I talk about how my dad was really ready, for that exit, and partnered with a DSO that was going to take over his clinic. And so that was my beginning into the space. And then once I worked with the DSO, we replicated the same model of the things that, I had found success with my father over the last 5 years into that DSO and acquisitions of 33 more locations. And it was a good DSO. I have no, ill feelings towards them at all. But I will tell you, I took away a lot of things that were important to me in the preservation of the dentists themselves. And in fact, I do some private coaching for dentists that have joined a DSO that aren't sure how to navigate compensation structure or their CDT code groupings and what's just happening to them overall. And really, Chad, the deep passion that I had was to see the dentist thrive in whatever situation that was, not just, sell their clinic and lose their soul. And so that became the heartbeat of my business, was to say, how do I bring this piece of hospitality back at the front desk? How do I bring back, the achievable EBITDA for the doctor to really see, a solid result? And, when I started in dental, my dad's clinic was surviving on bank loans, and it was dying out, and it was an incredible clinic. And we revived it together, and brought back leadership, brought back, the best systems and protocols, because I went to every conference I could find, and I turned every room that I could to learn what sterilization looked like and how do we do tray setup. And I just got into the deepest weeds I could find within dentistry to learn every facet. And so what it's done for me now is, I did that even with the DSO that I worked with. It was all areas that I directly reported to the CEO. I mean, my coined name was the Swiss Army knife, because I would come in and just touch all areas of the clinic and revive it and bring it back. And, I've had projects since then, like undercover scrubs, where I've partnered with companies that are looking to acquire a clinic and given them, deep level insights as an undercover operator of what could be better. And really out of that has just birthed this process that I've developed, where very rapidly I can go in and help a doctor revive their clinics. So it's very rewarding, and it's exciting to be, in this space at this time.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, Cassie, as a follow-up to that is, so how much does this spill over to what the doctors are doing clinically? Because, there's this piece, and you see this a lot, like on Facebook and Insta, like people saying, let me be your part-time CFO. Like everybody, there's a lot of people who say they can come in and help you from the business side, but there are very few people who truly understand the business of dentistry, where
Right.
you also have to understand the clinical side, the reimbursement, the coding, the as you said, infection control, and the HR side of it. And most dentists are just stuck in that little clinical bubble that's really all they do well, and they really need help in tying it all together.
Yeah.
So how much clinical and what kind of clinical practices, how do you talk to your dentists about what they're doing clinically, and maybe how they could change some of the procedures they're providing or the coding that they're using for the procedures that they're already doing? How much does it overlap into that clinical area?
Yeah, I mean, I think because I've worked in all facets, it's allowed me to be able to come in and partner with them from the clinical side. I'm operational driven, right? I do not possess any clinical degree. That is not what I'm there to do. But because I've been in that observation role and analysis role for so long, it really is my job and responsibility to come in and even look at why claim denials are happening. Are the clinical notes up to par? Are you charging out the right CDT codes, or have they been changed and you just don't know it, and your team is writing off work that they shouldn't have? Are there embezzlement aspects that have not, that you have not found or seen, but yet you're continuing to have a lower collection rate every single month and you don't know why? A lot of what I'm going in and doing is I'm really looking at both the RCM structural workflow, so the revenue cycle management. I want to check. I basically put everything in two buckets. One, it's preservation of the people, the clinic, and the patients, right? So all those assets, we preserve them. And the second thing is we get right after what we need to do to produce and make money for the clinic. And so the RCM workflow is my first area to focus on. I have partners in the field that I will hand off to where I see fit. And then the other thing is the patient journey workflow. And so I categorically go after both and look for where the deficiencies are and how we resolve them. And so many times, because so many hands have touched a system over and over and over again, they're operating from Dentrix, which they started 20 years ago, whatever it is. So many hands have touched that system that they've created what they have assumed are best practices, but they are the worst practices. And so part of my job is to come in and say, some of your compensation that you think is being written off for various reasons has a very different outcome than what you think it is. And so it's just really coming alongside the doctor and first being, present and listening to where their frustrations are within the clinic, because I'm even handling, where I see that there's, a infiltration of cancerous, D- level employees that need to hit the road. And we come up with strategy, we talk about it. And one of my favorite things that I, did very early on in my career was to come up with the bus pass, where I handed out bus passes in a meeting and said, hey team, listen, I want to tell you about the direction of where the doctor wants to go. Each of you has a bus pass with that mission and vision of where the doctor intends to go, how we're going to grow. And if any time you don't want to be on this bus to go down that path, we want what's best for you. So please hand in your pass and get off the bus. And I've had people hand in their pass and say, you know what, it's going to get faster and there's going to be more work here. And I really just want to clock in and clock out. And in those instances, I say, get off the bus. No one needs to fire you. Just find a new path. Maybe you need to be in customer service that's not forward facing, where you just answer emails all day. I don't know. But I've really made it a goal to facilitate that for the doctor, that we're looking at all aspects of the workflow and building a stronger clinic from really start to finish.
Awesome. What, we're kind of down this rabbit hole, so I'm going to go ahead and ask, what are some warnings, suggestions, mistakes, possibly, I think you know what I'm getting at, that doctors or teams make when they decide to partner with the DSO?
Ooh, yeah. I think the number one thing is, every DSO will preach clinical autonomy. And I would challenge, what does that exactly mean? And asking that in depth. I also believe in a legacy preservation model when that LOI is signed, and now it's about discussing numbers. And it is my advice to the doctor that things that are critically important to you, right down to community engagement, funding of things that are of value to you. Maybe you fund a local charity that's been a passion of yours for the last 15 years. Preserve the clinical assets, but also preserve the legacy-driven assets that have made you grow all these years. Because when I see those cut right from the beginning, it's really cutting off the lifeline of where those partnerships that fueled the depth and quality of the patients that started from the very beginning, it's the heartbeat. And so my challenge would be that I think that too frequently we move right into the numbers and the doctor's contributions of what comes next, void of what was built to that point. And one of the things I love about the stories of dentists I talk to is, they tell me the stories of, them and their spouse eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, living on nothing to create a clinic, and what it took to get to where they are. Don't forget that. Don't forget what it is that you had to go through to achieve what you achieved, and fight to preserve it if you really are considering the DSO route, and make it clear that in partnership with them, that these are the things that will be retained because they were the foundational aspects of your clinic. And I have seen DSOs come back and be very positive about, meeting the doctor where they are and allowing those things to be there. I also would say that anything that is influencing a doctor to change clinical note submission, or even where there is a head of clinical staff that is evaluating treatment plans and coaching dentists that have been purchased, would be a no-go for me. It really is a marriage, that you enter into, and it can be a very bad marriage very quickly if you don't understand the way that they review things. And I've seen dentists go into DSOs thinking that they would have full clinical autonomy preserved. And, they've been practicing for 30 years. And now someone in clinical leadership that is younger than them is asking them why they did a 5-surface filling on an 80-year-old versus a crown. And the doctor's going, this isn't up to you to decide that for me. So I would just say, be sure you know those processes and also preserve your legacy as much as you possibly can.
So Cassie, I gotta jump in. Chad, I gotta jump in and say this. She doesn't know how picky you are about your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, that's true.
That's crunchy peanut butter.
Yeah, I'm an only crunchy guy, but I'm going to tell you right now, That is probably the best answer I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot, because all of us have talked to DSOs. I mean,
Yes.
that's something that happens on a daily basis. That is what has built my practice,
Right.
is what you're talking about. The dance with the ones that brung you.
That's right.
And unfortunately, when you're having these conversations, that's probably the last thing to come through when you're about to sign and you're like, wait a second, we've given $1,500 to this every single year for the past, and that's something I'm passionate about.
Right.
You don't think about that, and a lot of people probably don't think about it until it's gone, and then all of a sudden, where is it coming from? It's coming from your pocket.
Right. And a lot of times there are assumptions made that it will be preserved. And I'll give you another one. If you annually do something very special for your team, like you take them to a special dinner and you give them a gift card for a certain amount, you sure as heck better write that into what you're asking for, because those things are the first things that are cut, and they are the things that have built the community of what you have inside of your clinic. So what I teach all day long about this legacy lift within the DSO, even through the book that I wrote, is those are the things that are the heartbeat of why you do what you do. You are not just a dentist who takes care of teeth. You have literally built a community, and you have built a team that believes in the work that you do. That's why it's been successful, and it's why a DSO wants to buy it. So those should be the very first things on the table that you are saying are non-negotiables. And I would sit down with your spouse. I would sit down with your team. If you're being open and honest with your team about what's coming next, and write the list of the preservation of the assets. Because what it really means is that you're going to preserve your people, you're going to preserve your patients, and that your practice isn't going to be turned into a prophy mill, and it matters. So I just really challenge that to anyone that's looking at partnership with a DSO. It is the last conversation, and honestly, it's usually never discussed, and then it's cut very early on, and the doctor's like, where did that go? I wanted that. And it's very sad to see, for sure.
I love it. Great answer. Sorry, Jeff.
No, you're fine. Cassie, can I go back to something else that you mentioned, talking about when you go into some of these practices to coach them, and you see that there is a practice management system that's maybe a 20-year-old system. How important is the practice management software to what you do in helping coach offices up?
Yeah, it's extremely important. And honestly, it's a big pain point for when you're looking to scale and bring on another associate. Because if you're operating in a space that really only you know how to generate the report, only you know how to put the treatment in correctly, you have all of these subsets of trainings that now someone is responsible for teaching to that associate. And remember, I'm coming in from the producing side right away. Yes, it would be nice for the team to have a new software. Yes, it would be nice to be in a new space. Beyond that, where I see the greatest room for improvement is leaving that old AR into that system that is archaic, letting it be worked fast and hard, and really in an accelerated way, so that there's revenue being generated, simultaneously building a system that allows your new associate to come in and have accuracy of templates, grouped CDT codes that are beneficial to them, AI support for submission of notation, a clean space for the way that adjustments are done. One of the number one reasons right now associates are bailing on clinics, like literally they're just churning them, is because of transparency of collections and how they are being paid. And it's happening inside of old systems. Mm-hmm. And so the doctor's like, well, when you pull it inside of here, then I have to put it in a spreadsheet, and then I need to adjust this. Any new dentist, especially a younger dentist, is going to come in and go, I mean, like, what is this? Is this smoke and mirrors, and you're just adjusting off what I should be earning? And so what happens is, to kind of, catalyst into a new system, I come in and I partner with groups like Curve, the team at Curve, and I say, okay, let's build the adjustment types correctly. It's not a write-off. It is write-off Blue Cross Blue Shield, write-off doctor waived the fee, write-off, Delta Dental, so that categorically now we can see where the true write-off is occurring from. And we can evaluate if we want to drop that in network, because we can see at the end of the year that the write-off associated with Blue Cross Blue Shield was the highest it's ever been. We get to see if the doctor is turning the practice into a not-for-profit and just waiving fees because he's feeling generous. In fact, I have doctors that are like, did I really waive that many pen retentions on this crown? So I'm like, yeah, like everyone, you were feeling like guilty for the price of the crown. And the doctor's like, wow, I didn't know that. I'm like, yes, leave that to the treatment coordinator. No more just waiving treatment or feeling bad. No one's waiving your knee replacement, like, oh, hey, we'll take off one of the screws.
Or your grocery bill.
Or your groceries or anything, right? So really, fine tuning those aspects is huge. And just this last week, I talked with a group that was having difficulty with their credit balances. And I said, well, inside of your old system, the reason why those are so elevated is likely because of the wrong fee schedule. And they were like, oh, I thought it was because of verification of benefits. And I said, sometimes, but you know what you ought to do? I said, you ought to pull your credit balances and then filter it by what insurance carrier and what the actual treatment was that was done to see why they have a credit balance. And lo and behold, if Delta Dental's fees were wrong for what they were billing out for an MOD. And I was like, okay, so here we go. That's the change. You have 20 patients that are all owed money back just because you missed that one fee. And so what I love about moving to a system like Curve is it lets me do a fast, hard analysis of what potentially is broken in that old system. And now it's fully transparent. It's fully accurate. Claims are submitted with accuracy. And then the associate comes on board and they're not seeing those massive write-offs. They're not seeing, credit balances out the wazoo. They're just operating in a clean space that gives them right out of the gate a trust factor with the doctor, the senior doctor, to say, I see what you see. And I can pull it for myself when I want to because it's accurate.
All right, let's talk about a super sexy topic. Clinical notes. Isn't that sexy, guys? Because you brought up a great point about AI support on the clinical note side. So, full disclosure, just last week, I think it was, one of the insurance companies, I'm just not going to say. Anyway, sent a lovely little letter out that said every PA that we ever take for future must have a narrative attached to it.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, isn't the PA the narrative? Like, isn't the PA telling the story?
No.
Okay, I digress. And it's also a low reimbursement rate procedure. Like, how much effort do you want to put into getting $20? Like, that's, which they know, and they're like, they're not going to do it, and then we won't pay. My point is, let's talk about AI, because you mentioned, is Curve providing AI assistance on the clinical note side? Because now I'm thinking, wow, what a huge adjunct to this nuisance of this increased responsibility on clinicians to tell the story convincingly enough that an insurance company will pay.
Yeah. I mean, to take a step back, a year ago, even not every single procedure required perio charting. And now almost every procedure requires perio charting because insurance has realized that, like, where they could hit you hard is if foundationally there's any sign of pocketing or potential loss, the crown is void. Like, you can't do the crown. And
hold on. I'm going to bitch for 2 seconds. Yeah. 2 recent denials. One, the tooth had an old root canal, has an apical widening. They won't cover the crown, even though it's had a root canal for like 37 years, asymptomatic, and the porcelain just fractured on the old crown. So we're just fixing the new crown. Won't cover it because the apices is not perfect, which I have no control over.
Right.
And then another insurance company, as of late, will no longer cover crowns with fractured teeth unless the patient is in absolute pain.
Correct.
So you take all the pictures, you show the recurrent decay, the fracture lines running off. Anyway, my point is, what you're saying is so spot on. It has become an increasingly difficult challenge to paint a picture that will be acceptable to the insurance company when what you said before was spot on. It's up to the doctor to make the diagnosis and determine the appropriate treatment plan with the patient to decide how they want to move forward. The insurance is now playing these really funny little games.
Yeah. And I would also just add to this, I just worked with the DSO a couple weeks ago to talk about language, the language factor when you are handed the insurance card and treatment planning. This old language has lived on forever of like, it's our policy that this is between you and your insurance. And I'm like, number one, no one reads that. And number two, they've handed you the card. So you've got to shift the narrative so that they really get it. And what I like to do is a 3-prong approach of letting them know it is our honor to file insurance on your behalf. But because of the standard of care and how we customize it, we want you to know that the output of your claim could result in you still owing something, and we don't have control over that. What we do have control over is customized and standard of care that is exactly what you need to make sure that you're whole and healthy. Like, make it known. So that's step one.
Absolutely.
You know, and I don't think we say that enough. I think we just say like, it's our policy. And then we have these terrible reviews about billing when we've just done, you know, incredible clinical work in the patient's mouth. It's never noted. It's always like, I got a bill after the fact for $20. And we're like, yeah, you also spent 7 hours in the chair gagging.
And you're not in pain anymore. And you,
smile.
We get chastised for making decisions that are in the patient's best interest clinically.
Yeah.
We get screwed for the insurance company making decisions that are in the patient's best interest, or that are in the insurance company's best interest financially.
Right.
I actually, we dealt with a lady today. I heard my office manager saying this. She goes, I just got off the phone with an insurance company, and I think the lady that I spoke to is going to get fired. And why is that? Because the lady, they were requesting the stupid FMX for a freaking crown or some stupid shit like that, where you're actually required to over radiate the patient in order for them to pay for one mundane procedure that you provided the PA and the diagnosis and all this other stuff for, and a monkey could have pushed it through. But no, we're in trouble for that. And the lady goes, next time I'm going to tell you a little trick. This is what you do. And she goes, this, and this. And my office manager gets off the phone and is like, this lady was freaking awesome. She won't work there long. That's the sad part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think that's the challenge that I give to the billing coordinators is when the denial comes in, you have to challenge it with curiosity. You have to go, I wonder why that was denied. I'm going to pick up the phone and I'm going to research. Not that AI should be what generates the end result for you, but even leveraging AI to say, has anyone else dealt with this type of a claim being denied? Pull all resources where you can show me denials related to this and how people overcame it. We literally have this repository now right in front of us to show us instances of similar effects. So again, AI should not be the final say, but it can pull together a library for you of a lot of other instances similar to you. So my philosophy is that denial of the claim does not mean you sit there with it and go, oh, okay, I'll write that off. It is pursuit out of curiosity of why was it denied and how I can fix it. So with Curve does have, notation accessible. I think at the end of this month, they're launching something with notation, which is next week. I worked with and still advise Bola AI, which is another one. And we've gone as far to build restorative, perio, and also SOAP notation, formatting that allows you to upload your clinical note. And then categorically, as you speak, it will show you if there are missing aspects of that narrative and where to go back and fill them in. And so I'm just a strong proponent truly of any AI support when it comes to notes, where there's some pre-built and focal points to protect you. Because for so long, I feel like that, doctors, not intentionally so, but the notes haven't been the focus. It's been about provide the patient care and keep the note simple. And insurance is requiring so much. We have to leverage AI to keep us on track with why that claim, could potentially get denied before it happens. Like in BOLA, it'll highlight and tell you like if the claim is going to get likelihood of getting approved based on how the note is now or what might need to be modified. So leverage something with AI. Curve is going to have it as well, but something with AI that allows you to have visibility to where you might have missing notation components in that SOAP note, and really garner the days of that simplified cookie cutter note. It is dovetailed very specifically to what insurance requires. And just like that PA piece, what I would say and what I would train any team to do is if you are told this is now a requirement, that there is a narrative facilitated along with that PA, even if it's one carrier, which by insurance standards, they'll just go back in and modify with that one carrier.
Yeah.
No, just universally do it. And then if they don't need it with another carrier, that's fine. But you've at least done it so that you've kind of solidified that now that's part of the process. So an AI can be a support to that and keeping you in check to ensure that it's done.
Yeah. And I don't think a lot of clinicians realize now how many of our clinical notes are going to insurance.
Yes.
I mean, when we started 20 years ago, we never sent clinical notes. And the
Right.
only time we would was a narrative to defend our decision making. Now,
early on, x-rays were a part of that. Like it was just like, if you have an x-ray, you're good. It's not really about the note.
Now, I would argue it's like 60 or 70%. If it's not a prophy,
yeah,
and heaven forbid it's a prophy with PAs, now it's how you got to send your clinical note. Like your clinical notes are going out more frequently than you think if you're using a revenue team or whoever.
That's right.
So number one, heads up on that in case you're putting things in there that shouldn't be going to the insurance company. Number two, using AI, I think, is going to become so critical because, to be fair, insurance is doing it on their end. Like it's going through first pass, looking for keywords. And then if it doesn't fit a certain paradigm, it gets kicked back.
And I would add, no one protects your money like you protect your money.
That's right.
If you're hiring an external company, you better let them know that denials are worked, like from day one, and that you want to see the list of denials and that their hands touched it again versus just writing it off. And just say it from the beginning. Be firm in that, because just like you would protect other aspects of the financials with your business, we're farming out processing of EOBs, and then it's like, oh well, there were these extra denials here and we had to write that off. Did you work it? Did you pick up the phone? Did you fight for that? Because that's what it takes today. And really, there's some excellent people out there doing it, but the ones that are farmed out to and that get paid per claim submission, whether it's paid or not, are the ones to be very leery of.
Excellent.
Cassie, that is a great point. I am so glad you said that. I happen to deal a lot on the medical side, and we see an awful lot of that especially if there is a pay per claim, that they just don't get worked the way that it would if someone internally were doing that, particularly someone with a vested interest in the business. Right. So I love that we touched on AI. I love that we've talked about revenue cycle. One other thing I want to ask, and we keep bringing up Curve because several of us on this webcast actually use it and can speak to the benefits of that particular program. But what are some of the advantages, and why should we be using a cloud-based software? Because I think we really need to talk about how important that is to just how the practice functions as a whole. And it really did. It changed my practice entirely when we moved over to that platform. So why do you see cloud-based software as such an important piece of what we do operationally?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, the biggest question a doctor needs to ask themselves is about quality of life. And I'm pretty sure over the last year, the tangled web of IT and your server have not contributed to a better quality of life for you. Furthermore, when you need to respond to a patient or you're on vacation, you're trying to get access to server-based information and you have no other way to find that out, or your practice had to suddenly be closed because in the middle of the day, you now need to run an update that you didn't know was necessary. These are real scenarios. And I just tell the doctors straight up, whether it's your PMS or something else that needs to be updated within your practice, just spend 1 week without me here and write down all your stressors. What is actually creating a lower quality of life for you? Write it down for me as you think about it. And I'm asking you to, do this and go back, put it on a piece of paper. And really, most of the time, the doctor will come back to me and it's support tickets or instances where they weren't able to load patient files and everybody had to get out of the one patient so they could then open up the chart. And I'm like, okay, all those instances have an origination in poor functionality of things you have today. Or for instance, the doctor knows the patient communicated with someone in the clinic, but he can't find any of that communication. And one of the first things I tell a doctor to do is move to cloud-based and turn on something like Mango for your phones that dictates the conversation directly into the communication log, and your Curve Grow keeps the communication log going. So when the patient says to you, so-and-so told me this, you just open up the comm log and you have every point of contact of what happened with that patient. It universally can shift the entire workflow in the office just with that alone. And then to have access to an app where you can pull up information about your patient, look at x-rays all from your phone, and it's HIPAA secure. I mean, I can't think of anything better. So really my challenge to doctors when listening to this is go make your list. What next week, and the week before has literally, like, you see it coming and you've already experienced it, is the pain point of your life that is shortening your days of happiness, and how do you change that? So that really is where I begin, and we look at systems and workflow right away, and much of that is solved inside of a cloud-based system.
I think that is a wonderful note to close on. I think that you nailed it, and I love it, and I think there are so many benefits to a cloud-based system. There's no secret that we are.
Go ahead and get out my notebook here and just start making.
Yeah, start writing down. Let's start
my pain points.
Do it.
Yeah.
Dad and Jeff
building.
Yeah. If multiple people are mentioned several times, they gotta go.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Chad and Jeff.
Yeah. I'm the negative Nelly of the group. Well, Cassie, thank you so much for being here tonight. As always, a very inspired conversation. Really, really thank you for all of your insights. I mean, we talked about DSOs, we talked about insurance. Have I mentioned before how much I hate insurance?
I have
right in on my list.
Yeah, people that would be with you in that.
We talked about cloud-based practice management software. We're all big fans of Curve. If you haven't looked into Curve, look into Curve. I actually am mentoring a doctor that I just convinced to switch over to Curve this past week, and we had a meeting on Monday night, and it was just really exciting. Some of the things that he said that he's found in going through this process. But one of the things that you mentioned earlier that I can just remember, and I won't say what I was with before, but everybody can probably figure it out. But we're just like, hey, I can't take x-rays on this patient. Okay, everybody get out of their chart and let everybody restart the computer. Let's get back in and let's see if we can do it.
Which, by the way, I have to remind doctors that's not normal. I'm like, did you know that you don't have to do that anymore? And they're like, I don't even think about it. I just do it.
I know. But the other thing that you said that I'm very, very passionate about, and I think you said this and you were speaking to something else, but I'm just going to say this right now. When you do switch over to cloud-based or whatever you switch over to, keep everything from the date prior to the transition in your old practice management software as far as AR and all that stuff, and put it's easy because all you have to do is look at the freaking date. Just look at the freaking date, because there's going to be some screw up. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I could give people. And I think you and I were on the same page. We've talked about this before, but in the end, the moral of the story that we all spoke about, and this is to patients and it's also to doctors and maybe how to relay to your patients. Your patients need to understand that that we're working for them.
That's right.
We're not working for, I mean, we are working for the almighty dollar. I mean, it puts food on our tables and whatnot. But in the end, we're working for the patient. We're not working for the insurance company. They're going to do what they want to do. Okay. We're working for the patient. We will advocate for the patient, but there's only so much that we can do. We don't control the insurance companies and they don't control us. And if you can't tell your patients that, then maybe you're in the wrong profession.
Yeah.
Because that's what our practices need to be built on, is the care of the patient and the sanity of ourselves. So
that's right.
Yeah. But thank you so much. And we really appreciate you being here. Any closing thoughts from anybody else?
Cassie was the first guest that thought Chad was funny. Did you notice that?
I did think he's funny.
Yeah.
She liked his yolks.
I'm not sure that
I told you Lent was over.
I am funny. I am funny. I'm going to tell you right now. I know I am.
You are
very dry
funny.
Humor. I connect with that. That was great.
There you go, Chad. There's someone out there for everybody.
You've got that going for you, Chad.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Good night. Have
Good night,
a wonderful
everybody.
evening.
Thank you,
to
Cassie.
her for a great show. Thank you to Cassie for being a wonderful guest. And we hope we get to visit you again.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.